Embrace the shades of gray. We all understand that extremes, in any form, are usually detrimental. Even extremophiles, or those organisms that thrive in what we consider to be extreme conditions, have their own preferred environments that provide a certain level of stability for them. However, when it comes to human life, living in the extreme of what we consider average does not lead to stability. Instead, it often results in rapid fluctuations that can destabilize all systems, even those only peripherally connected to them. In our complex world, nothing is entirely correct or completely wrong. Everything exists within shades of gray. The course we set for ourselves must be flexible enough to allow for change and chance, because rigidity adhering to one extreme or another can be perilous. The world has never been and will never be simply black and white. There have always been and always will be shades of gray. This realization is essential as we navigate the complexities of life. Utopia, a term derived from Greek meaning nowhere, is often associated with an ideal or perfect society. However, Sir Thomas More's story suggests perfection is an illusion that cannot endure. Perfection, by its very nature, resists change, and without change, there is no growth or adaptation. This is why the famous song lyric goes, "Call someplace paradise, kiss it goodbye." The notion of a perfect world, unchanging and flawless, is unsustainable in the long run. Does this mean we should abandon the pursuit of our own personal utopias, the ideal places and relationships or state of beings we seek? Not at all. But we must approach this pursuit with wisdom and a sense of realism. We need to establish boundaries, but these boundaries should not be so rigid that they cannot accommodate the inevitable change that life brings. After all, we are constantly growing and evolving, so where we live, work, and the rest must be in a state of flux as well. Morality, like everything else, is not simply a matter of absolutes. It is often portrayed as a battle between the forces of good and evil, but the truth is much more nuanced. Our actions and decisions are rarely black and white. Instead, they inhabit various shades of gray. What one person may see as morally right, another may interpret differently based on their own experiences, beliefs, and values. This moral ambiguity is a fundamental aspect of the human condition. Life is complex, and so too are the ethical dilemmas we all face. Given this complexity, how should we lead our lives in pursuit of what we can often feel like a muddy mess? The answer lies in embracing the uncertainty and learning to navigate the gray areas with discernment and flexibility. We must resist the urge to see the world in binary terms and instead cultivate a mindset that is open to multiple perspectives. This doesn't mean we should be morally relativistic, but rather that we should recognize the limitations of our own understandings and be willing to adapt as we gain new insights. One of the keys to navigating this gray area is to develop a strong sense of self-awareness. By understanding our own biases, motivations, and limitations, we can be more informed and make more informed decisions that reflect our true values rather than simply reacting to external pressures. Self-awareness also allows us to recognize when we are being influenced by extremes, whether they are political, societal, or personal. By staying centered and grounded, we can avoid the destabilizing effects of extreme thinking and maintain a balanced approach to life. Another important aspect of navigating the gray areas of life is cultivating empathy. When we are able to see the world through the eyes of others, we are better equipped to understand the complexities of moral issues and make decisions that we consider the needs and perspectives of all involved. Empathy allows us to move beyond black and white thinking and to appreciate the rich tapestry and multifaceted colors of human experience that exist in these shades of gray. At the same time, we must be willing to take decisive action when necessary. Navigating the gray areas of life does not mean being paralyzed by indecision or endlessly debating every moral question. It means being thoughtful and deliberate in our choices, while also recognizing that there are times when we must act, even in the face of uncertainty. The key is to find a balance between careful consideration and the courage to move forward, knowing that we may not have all the answers. In addition to self-awareness and empathy, another crucial component navigating the gray areas of life is adaptability. As conditions and circumstances inevitably change, so too must our approach to life's challenges. This requires a willingness to revise our plans, change our opinions, and even potentially abandoning long-held beliefs if they no longer serve us or align with our evolving understanding of the world. Flexibility is not a sign of weakness, but rather a recognition that the world is constantly in flux, and that our success and well-being depend on our ability to adapt. Finally, it's important to remember that the pursuit of perfection, whether in our lives or relationships or our environment, is not only unrealistic, but also potentially harmful. Perfection is a static concept, and life is anything but static. By clinging to unattainable ideals, we set ourselves up for disappointment and frustration. Instead, we should focus on progress, not perfection. This means celebrating our achievements no matter how small, and recognizing that our growth and importance are an ongoing process. Understanding this complexity, we must navigate our lives with an awareness of the moral absolutes being rare. The pursuit of purely good can often lead to disillusionment when we confront the messiness that is reality and ethical dilemmas. Instead of striving for unattainable perfection, we should aim to make choices that align with our core values, while recognizing the limitations and trade-offs inherent in every decision. Stability can often mean an overabundance of rules and regulations, but by the same token too much regulation can stifle inspiration, and many established bureaucracies use these rules and their vast power to shrug off fines to prevent new competition from appearing, and this means that change is impossible without destabilization. Leading a morally sound life in such a nuanced world requires a few key principles. First, we must cultivate empathy, understanding that others may view the same situation differently based on their own life experiences and beliefs. This helps us avoid rigid judgments and allows for more compassionate decision-making. Laws can keep us safe, but they can also be corrupted, used by those very criminals to avoid punishments on technicalities. This shows the vast chasm that can exist between the law as written and as intended, the words versus the spirits. Next, we should strive for integrity by consistently reflecting on our own actions and intentions. This means being honest with ourselves about our own motivations and be willing to adjust our course when we realize we've strayed from our own values. At each new nexus point, we have to have a different perspective, even if it's just a parallax caused by a different angle of observation. After that, flexibility is essential. The world is ever-changing, and so too are the circumstances that we face. What may seem like the right decision today can look vastly different tomorrow, as new information comes to light or as situations evolve. We can start a project with the best of intentions based on incomplete or faulty information. We have to be open to reevaluating our course based on new or better written intel. Finally, it's crucial to accept that not every situation will have a clear right answer. In these instances, we must make the best choice we can with the information and resources available to us, accepting that at some point, some level of moral ambiguity is inevitable. In essence, leading a morally sound life in a world full of gray areas involves embracing the complexity of human experience. It requires balancing empathy, integrity, and flexibility, while accepting that our moral journey will often be as murky as it is meaningful. It is not merely morality that must live rent-free in our minds, but our pursuits. In conclusion, while the world may never be black and white and never has been, and while perfection may always be just out of reach, there is a beauty and wisdom to be found in the shades of gray. By embracing uncertainty, cultivating self-awareness, empathy, and adaptability, and focusing on progress rather than perfection, we can navigate the complexities of life with grace and resilience. The course we set for ourselves must be flexible enough to accommodate unexpected twists and turns of life, while also being grounded and in a deep understanding of who we are and what we value. In this way, we can find stability not in the extremes, but in the thoughtful, deliberate pursuit of a life well lived, even in a world filled with moral ambiguity.